half of a school district's budget comes from property taxes, and half of that goes to teachers, administrators, and staff. But can a school board solve major problems? Munster schools have had the privilege of being well-funded for decades, and they have a native son, billionaire Joe Mansueto, CEO of Morningstar. East Chicago schools have incredible diversity, scholastics, and the production of great athletes, Kenny Lofton and Etwan Moore, and business mogul and multimillionaire Junior Bridgman. But in Munster, the tide has turned with two former superintendents receiving more than $850,000 in improper balloon payments, higher interest rates, and the possibility of no raises for teachers. East Chicago has struggled with test scores, transient populations, and a big environmental challenge. Munster and East Chicago schools, 99 problems, lead poisoning, and a referendum are just two. This is CounterPoint with Gerard McClendon. Munster Schools has 99 problems and a referendum is one. Thank you for watching CounterPoint. Call us at 844-777-9311. Tweet and send Facebook comments to Gerard MC. All Munster School Board candidates were invited to the show, and at the CounterPoint today, candidates John Doherty and Eric Talbot join us. Thanks for joining us at the CounterPoint, gentlemen. Appreciate you being here.
Thanks for having us. I would like to say that the other candidates wanted to be here. The notice was a little short.
Okay, but they did receive notice. I want to just start out with this question to Eric Talbot. What's the most urgent thing in your eyesight for Munster schools? The most urgent issue in Munster to you?
You know, I think currently the most urgent issue is the current deficit that we have. I think it's very important to focus on eliminating that deficit and get back to an operating budget that we can look forward to and be proud of as we move toward the future.
So budget deficit, Eric Talbot, John Doherty, most urgent pressing issue in Munster schools?
Most pressing issue, I believe, is trust between the town and the school board, and trust between the teachers and the school board and the administration. We have a teaching staff that their morale is down. They did receive raises at the bottom of the scale just a couple of weeks ago. It was negotiated. They will be getting stipends.
1 point raise, 2 point.
The bottom of the scale was $34,500 per year. Okay. The bottom of the scale was raised to $38,000. So that was significant. But everybody above $38,000 did not receive a raise.
Let's talk about the elephant in the room. A few years ago, referendum passed. Residents were like, okay, you wanted 25 cents on the referendum. We got the 19. Let's keep it moving. But then, lo and behold, a few years later, and as you talked about trust and as you talked about budgets, it looks like in 2017 they may go back to the R word again. Eric Talbot, what do you think about that? I mean, if the two of you are elected for school board, what do you do? Do you try to head off a referendum, or is it just a necessary evil?
You know, I think that's a great question, and I think one of the reasons why I decided to run for school board was I attended school board meetings years ago, and I was concerned with some of the rising fees that the school board was passing on to some of the youth sports programs that my kids participated in. And I was told that the referendum would fix everything. And well, I think the referendum was important. I think it was obviously necessary at that point. I really don't think that it was large enough.
Yeah.
And I think that put us in this position that we're in now.
So you feel it should have just been a bigger referendum, but there's always the possibility that a larger referendum doesn't get passed in the general election. So what do you think, John Doherty? If that R word's going to come, it's going to come back to Munster. What do you think about that?
There's no avoiding it because the referendums are only good for 7 years. So the current 19-set referendum will fall off in 4 more years. We have to prepare for at least replacing that. The biggest problem with the previous referendum was the town and the teachers were sold a bill of goods where the expectation was you were going to get a 19 cent on the 100 raise on your taxes. Nobody told the voters until a week or two before the election 18 cents on the 100 was going to fall off.
Yeah.
So people voted for a tax raise,
Yep.
willingly voted for it. They didn't get it.
You know,
and then there wasn't enough money.
when people drive through Munster, it's beautiful. Beautiful homes, beautiful people. You know, on the surface and on the outside, the schools look nice. You know, but there's been a lot of 5-0 votes in Munster. All right, and I'm always a little precarious when voting is unanimous on school boards. Teachers deserve the raise. You've got bond refinance issues in Munster. Looks nice on the surface, but this is dirty stuff. $7 million debt in 2014, and it looks like you're going to have to add $130 extra to the property taxes. So, you know, how do you build teacher morale and even citizen morale in Munster when you just keep asking people for money? What do you think, Eric?
Well, I think one of the ideas that I have is to raise revenue by offering naming rights to some of the buildings at the school. I think it's very commonplace in Texas that you see at a lot of the football stadiums. Westville's done that recently, and even a lot of the Chicago schools and areas in the Chicago suburbs are offering up naming rights to their schools. And I think that in 10 years, I think that'll be commonplace within public school systems as the state has continued to cut funding. So,
what do you think about naming rights? They're also called exclusive endorsement contracts. As Eric Talbot said, big in Texas, they'll put a Nike or Adidas banner on the outside of the football stadium. Nike or Adidas pays the school's happy. What do you think about that?
Nike and Adidas won't do it for 300 school districts in Indiana. So we will have to choose our targets. I believe it's a viable option. I don't believe it by itself will get us to where we need to be.
You got to have good teams too. That's the other issue,
that's
right?
part of it,
because, you know, big time companies won't give you an exclusive endorsement deal unless you put eyes on their particular logo. Let's talk about.
And you can't control that year to year. Some years you're going to be good, some years you're not going to be as good.
And I think in a community like Munster, where you have Munster-based businesses, I think the opportunity's there within our community to offer those name
That would
rights.
be the better target than the Nikes or the Adidas.
Strain. There's this thing called, we talked about the R word, referendum, and then there's the L word, the levy. You have to raise X number amount, and it's always an unknown for the most part, X number of funds to be able to take care of your school district. All the salaries, teachers, librarians,
The salaries come from general fund.
Absolutely, absolutely. But when it comes to raising taxes and when it comes to making sure that the levy is in check, you know, what do you do as a board member to say, I am not going to be a puppet on this board. I'm going to be a free thinking, independent, operating thinker on this board, and I'm not always going to be swayed by what maybe the other 4 board members and the superintendent try to lure me into. Let my viewers know that you're an independent thinker. How do you do that, John Doherty?
Well, I would say a lot of that happens in meetings among the board. Am I a fan of 5-0 votes across the board? Probably not.
Sometimes boards get too comfortable.
I would agree with you, but look at what happens downstate. We see a lot of contention about a handful of issues in the state legislature. I will tell you 90% of the votes in the state in Indianapolis go almost 90% or 100% in favor of an issue that clearly needs to be taken care of. And I would say that I know among the 7 of us that are running, the intent of all of us is to put Munster's best interest, the school's best interest in front, and we will find solutions, assuming I get on the board. I will work with my fellow board members to find solutions where when it comes to a vote, we've already agreed that this is the common solution.
I would hope so. What do you think? Because we look around the country, Detroit, 11 principals went to prison for kickbacks. Where's the accountability of the board? You look at Atlanta Public Schools, ridiculous cheating scam. The same scam happened in Chicago public schools. You look at Barbara Bird Bennett in Chicago, who a $23 million no bid contract, and she got that past Rahm Emanuel. So if you could do it in a big city, what makes you think you can't? It won't happen in Munster.
I think it's a great question, Gerard, and I think one of the things, I had the opportunity to speak with Judy Hess, who was on the board in the early 90s, and at that point in time, they had term limits, and I think that's something that that our board should go back to looking at, to a 2-term limit. I think one of the things that can happen with the board is, as you mentioned, they get too comfortable, and so I think that's certainly something that should be addressed, and I think, assuming I was to make it onto the board and get elected, I think you have to watch what you spend and regain the trust of the community.
John Doherty, term limits, what do you think?
I know my wife wants term limits. And it was the original intent when the ordinance was passed to go from an appointed board to an elected board. And I'm not sure when that fell off. So I will be looking into that.
Yeah.
So I'm for term limits. And I would say the thing that we have to follow most of all, though, aside from term limits, is accountability to the State Board of Accounts. If we just follow what the State Board of Accounts tells us in terms of their audits, and we do a better job of overseeing what we're doing, that's what the State Board of Accounts has told us repeatedly. We need better oversight where it's just not one person checking the numbers and verifying the numbers. The checker needs to be checked.
There we go. I love that. I love that. And it's so interesting when you look at school boards. The majority of school boards in the country do not use GAAP, generally accepted accounting practices.
You're correct.
That so frustrates me because it's basically saying, ooh, I've got a cookie jar, I can do whatever I want with it. And when you look at, see, I'm from Northwest Indiana. And when I leave this area, people say, the region, like we're like the epitome of corruption. That really ticks me off. I only got about 30 seconds left, gentlemen. Why should people vote for you for school board, Eric Talbot?
Well, I feel I'm really a vested voice for the community. That's been my platform the whole time. I have 3 children. I have a middle schooler, an elementary schooler, and one who's still running around in diapers. And I plan on all 3 of them to go through the Munster school system and have the same opportunity I did. And
John Doherty, why vote for John Doherty School Board?
I have 30 years of experience in the school system as the athletic trainer. I'm on 3 state boards, 2 with the State Board of Education. I've made a career out of child safety, student safety, and I will continue to put the students first.
John Doherty, Eric Talbot, thank you so much for joining us at the Counterpoint. You know, we have to take a quick break, but we'll be back with more school board discussion in a moment. Stay with us. Tweet me, post on Instagram, or send me a message on Facebook. Let's start the conversation. Your voice is important on Counterpoint. Chicago schools has 99 problems. Test scores and lead poisoning are just 2. Thank you for watching Counterpoint. Give us a call at 844-777-9311. Tweet and send Facebook comments to Gerard MC. All East Chicago School Board candidates were invited to the show at the Counterpoint. Today, though, we have Vanessa Hernandez-Orange and we have Jesse Gomez. Thank you for joining us on the Counterpoint today. We really appreciate you. I'm going to start with Vanessa Hernandez-Orange. Most urgent issue for East Chicago schools in your eyesight?
Well, I think first off, it's keeping the students in East Chicago. I do work for a different school system, and I see many students leave the East Chicago school system for multiple reasonings and go into other systems. And that's not even including all those students who are possibly going to leave because of the lead issue in our school system. Then that causes for money to leave. Yes, we're getting money from the state for the funding of the lead, but you're missing over 100 students probably from the East Chicago school system going to Hammond, Morton, et cetera, or different schools.
So biggest issue for you is attrition. Jesse Gomez, most urgent issue in East Chicago public schools to you?
I think it's the same one it was 4 years ago, and that was the budget. When we walked in 4 years ago, walked into a $7 million deficit. We've now come close to balancing that budget, and without having a viable budget in place, you can't provide raises for people, you can't provide good programs for students. You know, it's just very difficult to operate any business or entity without having your budget in place.
You know what's
Number one.
interesting? The two answers that you gave are profound to me, because it shows how everything is directly correlated and tied, kind of joined at the hip. So if you have attrition, it means you're missing students. So now which means you don't meet your ADM, you know, and if you don't meet your ADM, you can't get funding for the students. You mentioned finance, such an integral part of schooling. Let's talk about the $3 million state loan that Superintendent McNulty took out. Do you agree, just to keep the lead poisoning at bay and to try to keep the students from leaving the city? Do you agree or disagree with the $3 million loan?
Well, first off, kudos to her to actually taking the first step to go down there and find a way to keep some of that money in the school system. And not only, we have to make sure that we have the students in mind when it comes to all this, because yes, their health is at risk, but now we have to think about the educational portion of it. So I think she did a great job of going down there, trying to find some type of funding to hopefully keep our students back in our school system and whatever else they need to get educated because of the situation that's actually happening.
What do you think about the loan?
I really feel the same way Vanessa does. I applaud Superintendent McNulty. It was a bold move for a first-year superintendent. She walked into a horrible mess, something that we did not plan for, but we, and I include the superintendent in that, have done a good job in doing what we could to move our kids to a safer location, to provide good education for them, and we are currently trying to have that loan forgiven. And so the hope is that we find favor downstate and have.
Thanks for going there. Thanks for going there, because my next question to both of you was, should East Chicago schools be held harmless? All right, and I'm looking at Superintendent McNulty said about 335 students are enrolled at the new Carrigosh, now in the former West Side Middle School, but still about 200 short of the number of Carrigosh students who were enrolled last year. So now you're looking at 135 students times whatever the per pupil is in East Chicago. That's missing funding. So should EC be held harmless for that? Should there be funding, you know, infused into East Chicago so that you guys don't suffer just immensely?
I absolutely think so. I mean, simply because it's something that happened in East Chicago that obviously the school system did not know about it at first. Our current mayor didn't know it happened previously. No one thought about what was going to happen eventually. Now we're suffering in this current moment as a school system. So it's just like a natural disaster. Something happened and you could get forgiven. I believe this is another instance.
You know, Attorney Lonnie Randolph said when the new Carrigosh building was constructed in 1999, there should have been environmental studies done and reports. He wants to know where they are. It's like, what were the results of those studies done before the school was rebuilt, and what happened to the information that was discovered at the site? So you opened up with fiscal accountability, you opened up with attrition. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. Building a housing complex, building a school, which is a safe place, on a Superfund site, on a site you know there's contaminated soil under. As potential school board members here, what do you tell parents? What do you do?
Well, first off, me being on the outside, my child actually went to Carrigosh, he's a special needs student. So this actually affected me immensely because not only is my child special need, but the lead could actually affect him even more. The fact that when this came about, my child was doing gardening in the summertime at Carrigosh, and we still, as a parent, didn't have any information. We weren't sure exactly. So I know how parents feel. We just need to get it out there and let parents know ahead of time the truth. Whatever we know, make sure they get to know immediately, because if we don't, then I, like myself, I'm thinking what is being hidden by the school system, or what is being hidden by the city.
Vanessa Hernandez Orange says that her child could have been playing in contaminated soil. Jesse Gomez, as a school board member, was there some sort of effort once you guys found out as a board, and did the superintendent say, wait a minute, we got to get this notice out to parents immediately? Was that something that could have been done quicker or more efficiently? And what do you think?
I think we knew what we knew when we found out, and the mayor contacted Superintendent McNulty. And just for the record, the EPA did look at the site. The school is itself, the school building itself, has passed the muster for EPA, so there's no lead contamination within the building itself. She went one step further, did Superintendent McNulty, and had the water tested for lead as well. So as of right now, the building itself has gotten a clean bill of health. There's a small portion of the property, a very small portion of the property that did find itself with lead contamination. Okay. But it's a far, far away from the actual building. So we found out, as soon as we found out, I should say, we acted not only to make sure that the building was tested, the grounds were tested, and the water was tested.
Due diligence. You know, East Chicago is a great place. It really is. More people need to say that.
Absolutely.
Some great people have come from East Chicago. There are great people that live in East Chicago. So being a school board member, you know, do you think that a school board member can help shape or have the responsibility of shaping the narrative of the East Chicago public schools? What do you think about that? You guys have produced millionaires, doctors, lawyers, amazing athletes, architects. Does the board have a responsibility in shaping the narrative? What do you think, Jesse Gomez?
I do believe it does. When we first got on the board, one of the first lessons we were taught by the Indiana School Board Association was that we all sit on the same side of the table, the school board and the superintendent. We are there to present a united front to the community. We have work to do. We'll have internal disagreements. We work those disagreements out, and then we move forward with our board meetings. But having a positive, unified vision for the school district is super important to the success of the district.
Shaping the narrative. Vanessa Hernandez Orange.
Absolutely. I mean, we are the forefront of the school system. The kids that come to school, they see us, and we want to make sure that they could see us. We're where we want to be. We make direct contact with those athletes, and we make direct contact with those lawyers, and we also have to promote our students in our school system. And being at that level, we could do it at the state and hopefully nationally, so they could know East Chicago is the best place to be.
I'm going to ask the hard question now. I teach school finance, all right, on the doctoral level and on the graduate school level. And one of the easiest entities to steal money from is a school corporation because of all of the numerous various funds, and there's not enough people looking at people who are accountable, all right? So let me start with Vanessa Hernandez Orange first. What gives you the audacity to think that you have the responsibility and honesty to be a school board member?
Well, first off, I started from the bottom. I was a secretary and I was a coach, so I know first off how I need to help my students. And I know how much we as secretaries or paraprofessionals or our teachers, how hard they work, and I know that we don't need to steal or take away from them, but yet give to them. I worked for 10 years in the school system, and I do know for a fact firsthand that that money needs to go to our teachers and our students and all those that are in the school system at the bottom, not at the top.
Yeah, they need you in Atlanta, Detroit, and Chicago. What do you think, Jesse Gomez? I mean, it's, you know, being a trustee of a school board is immense responsibility. Some people think it's even more responsibility than being the mayor of a city. What makes you think that you're going to get one reelected, two, that you have the responsibility to fulfill that role?
I served on the city council previously, and so I know and understand the importance of budgets. I will say this, that every time that we've gone through 4 CFOs in our 4 years, and every time we've gone through that, I've made sure I've asked the superintendent to do a background on our next CFO, but also to check our finances, that we were in good shape when the last one left us. So we do kind of a forensic background on our incoming CFOs, but also on the person that just left us, so that we know that we were in good shape. As you know, the state also comes and audits us as well. So we push for those audits, but also we have internal audits on the off years.
Yeah. Do you feel like EC is under a ridiculous microscope sometimes? Do you feel that, the two of you?
And probably, I think, in a sense, because it's so political.
Yeah.
And we want, are you doing things correctly?
Yeah.
Who's coming in, who's not? So obviously from, I'm assuming the state, and yes, we are looked upon that way.
I want to thank you both for coming in today. I really appreciate it. The key is to have your accountants check your accountants and have your lawyers check your lawyers. I want to thank all the candidates today. School boards are the most powerful boards, and although they have to be accountable, the citizens must hold them equally accountable. Voting is as important as breathing. Thank you for watching CounterPoint this evening. Stay positive, keep your head up, and always be encouraged to voice your counterpoint. Have a great week.